Okay, everyone, thank you so much for coming. I am so glad you're here. My name's Emily. I am from the Woodlands Home Group outside of Houston. Woohoo! And I'm a codependent. And together we will be learning about the intuition. And some people might call it their inner voice or gut feeling. It's totally up to you. But before we get into exactly what the intuition is, I'm going to kind of give you some background information on my practice with the intuition and my codependency recovery and how the two interact together. So I am a classic overthinker, fixer, figure-outer, person with great intentions who wants to connect the puzzle pieces and help all the people and give all the advice and all my opinions. And I am a self-diagnosed control freak. And surprise, I'm also codependent. So, what? I know. So growing up and still to this day, if I don't catch them in time, my thoughts just run away with themselves. I consider all the options, all the what ifs. I have a hard time making decisions. And when I do, I second guess that decision so many times until I can find peace around it. So does this sound familiar to anyone here? Yeah. You're codependent too? Welcome! So during codependency recovery, I recognized these traits that I had, and I noticed that there was an underlying theme within them, and that was I didn't trust myself. I also didn't love myself, and the loving myself part of CoDA has been the core thing I've been learning through my recovery. So I was looking outside of myself for validation, for support, and for confirmation that I was doing the right thing or that I was good enough. Does this sound familiar to any of your journeys as well? So even before I knew about codependency, I started listening to my intuition, and I became aware that my intuition, my inner voice, my gut feeling had a deep wisdom. I began listening to it, and I began writing to it, but most importantly, I began honoring what it was saying to me. So throughout codependency recovery, I started using this tool to build my self-love and self-trust. I recognized that not only did it connect me to my own power that I thought that I had lost, but it connected me to my higher power, which I really needed to restore that relationship once I got into CoDA. So for me, it's a way of communicating with my true self and with my higher power. So with that, let's talk about what I believe, but also you're free to share what you believe as well. Because this might be considered for some people a woo-woo topic, like intuition. Are you a little bit woo-woo? Yes, I am. Welcome. Yay! So really, because this is CoDA, you make this whatever you want to make of it. If I say something that you don't agree with or that you don't believe, I really just invite you to make it work for your recovery. And ask questions if you need to, and there will be time for questions as well. So with that, we are going to investigate. Can you see here? I might need to. We're going to investigate the intuition. So we're going to do who, what, when, where, why, and how. So the biggest thing is who. It's going to be you. You're doing this. We're not looking outside of ourselves when we do this practice. And as codependents, myself included, I'm used to looking outside of myself. So this practice is between me, myself, and I, and my higher power, or my God of my understanding. What exactly is this intuition? Okay, so it's this thing we can talk to, apparently, and listen to, and maybe communicate with God with. So what I believe, the intuition is a pure form of love. That is a huge reason why this practice has helped me form my self-love and self-care and self-trust that I needed. It is a connection between you and your higher power, a way to communicate to your wisest self. It can be a word, a sentence, a vision, an energy, or a voice. When I say I listened to my intuition, it didn't say, Emily, you are awesome. I didn't hear that. I maybe felt it. Maybe I saw a sentence in my head, but most often I don't think people hear an actual voice, even though I know people do. It is a feeling in your body. Sometimes I cannot describe what I'm really feeling whenever I'm listening to my intuition, but I know I feel peace, or I feel clarity, or I feel relief. Some people might feel an actual physical sensation, a tingling in their heart, in their hands, maybe their hands get warm. So it's going to be special to your experience. And this is key. It is a completely different voice from your ego. So for me, what I believe, ego is the monkey mind chatter in my brain. And that's where fear comes from for me. So what we're dealing with intuition, that's what I heard today in pause. Someone said heart wisdom, and that was perfect. Your intuition, inner voice, gut feeling is your heart wisdom, your gut wisdom. It's that truth that's telling you something that you feel is true, but you might not know why it feels like truth. Whereas ego, we'll get that cheeky little monkey, we'll get to that later on. Okay, so when can we tap in and listen to our intuition? Anytime you need clarity, relief, validation, or peace. Anytime you feel the codependent crazies coming on, this is when we can use a pause. Intuition and pause work go so beautifully hand in hand. During our CoDA daily practice, whether you are doing your CoDA homework, whether you're doing your prayer and meditation, whatever you do for recovery on a daily practice, when you're trying to live your recovery. For me, living my recovery means I'm in the middle of my daily life and this codependent behavior comes and it's nasty. That's when I'm intentional. I pause and tap into my intuition. That's how I live my recovery. It's like when yogis say yoga happens off of the mat, that's recovery for me, trying to live my recovery away from group meetings or away from step studies. And we can do this during self-care. Do you love to go for a walk? Great. That's a great time to tap into your intuition. Whatever you do to take care of yourself, that's a good time to really listen to what's going on in the present moment with your true self. Where can we do this? A safe, quiet place. My favorite place is my closet. Somewhere you can be alone. That helps, quiet out any stimuli that might be sensitive to you, to hearing your true self. Wherever you are in that moment, that could be during a CoDA crazy, that can be when you need to pause and tap into your intuition. Anywhere you connect with your higher power. If you're hiking, if you're in nature, if you're walking your dog, if you're cuddling with your child, this is a time that you can connect, something greater than you. Okay, so I think the why is just as important as who, you and your higher power. Why exactly do we even want to listen to our intuition? Well, it's getting us in touch with our true self. And before CoDA, we were like, hardcore codependents. During recovery, we're like, who are we outside of codependency? Who am I besides taking care of this person, this identity, this role? So in my recovery, I want to find my true self, and that's what my intuition is helping me to do. It helps us connect to our higher power, build love, self-love, and self-trust, to practice recovery, and to find an answer that is already within you. And I think this is so important because even though this might be a little bit woo-woo, even though you're like, I don't know how to tap into my inner voice, I believe every one of us, even in our codependent crazies, has the answer. We have the truth. Maybe we've just been told through a lot of different sources that our truth wasn't valuable or that we were not valuable enough to listen to that truth. So we are finding the answer that's already within us. So how do we do this exactly? Well, we pause. Hey, that pause is so important, right? wherever we are, we pause, because whenever it's loud, it's really hard to hear your inner voice. And what I mean loud is not just like walking through the grocery store and it's literally loud, but the loud in your voice, the self-talk that's negative, that fatherly, you're not good enough voice you're hearing when you were 7 years old. That's what I'm talking about when we're talking about it being loud in our head. So we're pausing, we're breathing, we're listening. What exactly are we listening to? We're going to get to that in a minute. We wait, because this is not like, okay, I have 2 minutes, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to listen to my intuition, and they're going to tell me why I'm codependent and what I'm going to do about it. No, we're waiting. That's a part of being intentional with this practice. We're waiting for the answer, and gold stars, we receive it. We receive what we get, which is really part of the discomfort of this practice. So we said a lot real quick about what the intuition is, what the inner voice is. Before we begin an actual practice of listening to our intuition, does anyone have any questions? Okay, we will get started. So this is going to be our first exercise, and if anyone needs a spiral notebook, we'll be writing during our second exercise. But really, this is what you want to make of it. So even though we're listening right now, if anything is coming to you or through you, feel free to write it down. So what we're going to do is we're going to visualize or feel a connection between us and our higher power, our wiser source. So for me, I don't know where this came from, but for me, I literally visualize like a tube of energy, a tube of light that's coming from my body to a higher source. Energy, the universe, something bigger than me. For me, that acts as a conduit or a vessel for the messages I'm willing to receive. But that, what you visualize, could be anything. Maybe you're visualizing sitting on your couch and you are at the most relaxed, peaceful place, but you're really at the dentist office. Like, that's you visualizing the connection between you and your wiser source or your peace. So this kind of helps if we address the fear. Sometimes we're sitting down, right, and all these thoughts come up. We're finally quiet, we're finally sitting by ourselves, the kids are tucked into bed, we get a moment, and instead of getting on Netflix, we sit down and it's quiet, and that's when the to-do list starts, right? Or that's when the worries start, or what do I need to do for tomorrow? So it helps if you address it. Okay, fear, thank you for trying to protect me. And I have more on your handouts than what I'm going to go on the slides with because of time. So we're going to address it. We might say, I'm going to pause right now. I'm going to practice my recovery. I'm going to just listen to my higher power. We begin to address our intuition, inner voice, our higher power. Maybe we say, okay, I'm ready to receive. I'm ready to surrender. I want to hear what you have to say, and I'm willing to listen. Okay, so this is a big one. What am I listening for? Again, it could be a feeling. It could be a voice. It could be anything that you are going through in your present moment that you need some clarity or relief from. And what if I can't hear anything? Okay, this is such a common question, and it's so understandable when this stops people from doing this practice. What if I don't hear anything? Well, oftentimes when you're ready to hear the answer, you will get the answer. But also, it's a muscle. I cannot just sit down after not listening to my intuition and actively ignore it and sit down and think I'm going to get the answers. This is something I practice so that I can more easily hear it and receive it. So let's look at this quote and think about why we might not be hearing our inner voice. Before recovery, many of us who prayed often wondered why things weren't changing or getting worse. The answer is obvious. Either we weren't listening or we were unwilling to carry out the answers we were given. And I think this is one of the hardest things about this practice. We're asking for this information, right? We're in recovery, so the information might be really uncomfortable. And then we're like, oh no, I have that information. I can't unknow it. Or maybe you have the information and you're not willing to do anything about it, and you have to sit in that discomfort. So, okay, so this is when I invite you. We're actually going to take a moment, take a couple of minutes to listen to our intuition. Because this is your practice, you do what feels good to you. If you need to leave and find a spot other than your chair, if you want your eyes closed, if you want them open, this is really up to you. If you have headphones and you want to put them in or play music, that's up to you. So we're going to just take a couple of minutes. And if you fall asleep, that's okay because it's after lunch. So again, we're going to go back to our tools. We're going to pause. Okay, breathe, listen, wait, and receive. So if you want, I'm going to give you a couple minutes. It's going to be quiet, and I will come back when we're ready to share. Okay, everyone. So that was about a minute and a half. Who felt like that was flat out uncomfortable? I'm impressed. Y'all are working and twerking. Your recovery. Yes, okay. So who felt like their monkey mind chatter wanted to step right in there? Mm-hmm. I feel you. Totally. Okay. Who felt like it was maybe, I don't know what to listen for, or just being in this room is a little uncomfortable? Okay, totally valid. Does anyone want to share what their intuition felt like, what they might have heard, what it sounded like? Yes. Mm. Mm-hmm. So when that moved from your head to your heart space, did it come with a feeling in your body? Okay, great. Thank you. Would anyone else like to share? Okay. Oh, yes. Mm, thank you. That that brings up a good point. It is reassuring. And sometimes like it's reassuring without us even realizing it. Like, oh, I didn't know I needed reassurance. But also, I just want to say thank you for following your intuition to come here. Because our codependency could have been like, I really want to go in here. But you feel that like, that intuition, you know? Y'all get it. Okay, so we just sat down. Some of our monkey minds like started chattering. What are you doing here? Our brain just wants to protect us. We've been in protective survival mode for a lot of our codependency. So we are tapping into a whole different part of our system. And our codependency mind might be like, what are you doing to me? So on your handout, we're going to talk about the difference between intuition and fear, or intuition and ego. There's a lot more choices, or what's the word I'm looking for? Examples, information, thank you, on your handout. But right now, for the sake of time, we are going to focus on some of the traits or behaviors we might be feeling as codependents. So our intuition, remember, is just pure love. It just wants the best for you. It is all love all the time. So your intuition is about surrendering because it already knows you're safe. Your intuition already knows you're good. We're okay. We don't have to be afraid right now because we have truth, wisdom, love, and our higher power on our side. Whereas our ego, our codependency, we don't want to surrender, right? We just want to control it and fix it and fight it and figure it out. Intuition is all about acceptance. And y'all know this is a huge reason why I personally practice this for myself. Acceptance was a hard thing for me to reflect on during our pause seminar today. And working with my intuition is how I'm able to get one step closer to accepting my true self, who I am, even the parts of me that are really uncomfortable to look at, but also to accept the people outside of me. Intuition can look at someone that I might have a problem with and be like, no, we're good. So ego wants to change and fix it. Intuition wants to accept it. Intuition is thriving mode. We're good. Okay, so I really like studying the brain. And before codependency, I was like, what's going on with my limbic system when I am in survival mode? And my limbic system and my adrenals, they were like working because we want to keep you safe. And they were working all day long. And then, so my brain is literally wired for survival. It's on the same thought pattern, the same cycles. Brain likes repetition, likes routine. And here the intuition comes in and it's like, no, we're going to thrive and you're going to be uncomfortable. Right? And here's what is so tricky about the intuition, your inner voice, your gut feeling. It loves you, but it doesn't always say what you want to hear. It says it out of love, but you might not want to hear it. So the intuition is wisdom. Our codependent ego is doubt. The intuition is all about the present moment. The ego, who does this as codependent? Reliving the past, worrying about the future? Yes, yes, yes. So here's a trick. The intuition, it's not a fortune teller. It is not foreshadowing the future. You cannot be like, okay, I think I need to exit from this relationship. Intuition, am I going to meet someone in the future so that this exit will be worth it? No. The intuition is just the present moment. Even if you ask the question, the intuition is going to give you something like, breathe. Seriously, that's what I need to do in this moment? Yes. Breathe. So, present moment, not a fortune teller. Okay, so in a minute, we are going to write to our intuition. What does this look like? So, we use the listening skills we've already developed. We have our paper ready. Some people like computers. Some people write on their notes on their phone if they need to tap into their intuition wherever they are. You write down whatever comes to you, literally. This is not a time for grammar or spell check. This is not a time to analyze or interpret what is coming through. Because at that point, you're kind of breaking the flow. Just write it, write it, write it. And my teenager, she's 13, she let me practice this on her. I didn't even ask. I was just practicing it. And she's like, Mom, I want to sit in here. I want to listen. She also didn't want to go to bed. But I'm like, okay. And it was such an act of love. So she's in a writing strategies class in 8th grade. And when we were talking about writing to the intuition, she's like, Mom, you got to tell them this, what she learned in writing strategies. The more you write, the more creative you are. The more the ideas flow. Her writing strategies teacher would be so pleased that she recognized and told me that knowledge. So, but that's so true with our intuition. The more we write, it gets clearer. Some things come out and you're like, where is this coming from? So if you don't hear right away, just keep coming and maybe you'll be peeling away those layers of the onion until you find something that does resonate with you. What can I ask? Some people ask something they need to know right then and there. Some people ask, let's say, personally, I've written to my intuition so much over the past month that I've really been practicing this in my own life. And I have to ask what I'm supposed to do in that moment. What's my next right step? And it changes from moment to moment, day to day. So what you ask your intuition might change. But here's a question I love starting with. Am I loved? We're literally asking our inner voice, our intuition, am I loved? And the reason this is important is because we need to hear it. We need to hear it from ourselves. And when you ask your inner voice, am I loved? And you hear yes, you hear something else, you are building the recognition of what that voice sounds like to you. If you write to your intuition and ask, am I loved? And they say, no, because remember you did this and this and this. That is not your inner voice. So that's a nice distinction between the two because you're building this practice to figure out how to hear it. Okay, so what are you writing down? It could be a stream of consciousness. It could be an image. If you are an artist and writing is not your deal, but you want to draw what is coming through to you, that is so powerful. Painting, drawing, coloring, and some sort of image that pops into your mind. An image of you holding a child that you do not have yet. I mean, these images come to us at the right moment when we're ready to receive them. You can even write down the physical sensation or a feeling and then maybe interpret that later. Again, we go back to what we started when we were listening to our intuition. These steps, right? Pause, breathe, listen, wait, receive, and write. You might not always know what to write. Nothing might come. Just receive and wait till it comes. And if it doesn't, that's okay. You could try again. So, not yet. Okay, so because we're about to get quiet again, and it's after lunch, I invite you to get up with me and shake your wiggles out. Who wants to do it? Okay. Okay, so this is waking us up. But y'all know I am a dancer. I am a mover. There is power in your body. We're about to tap into something bigger than us. So if you're feeling tension, let's wiggle it out. Do whatever you need. Stretch it out. I know, I told y'all I was woo-woo. Okay? So our body is a vessel. We are about to connect to whatever you want to connect to. So if you are feeling tension or tightness or sleepiness, that might interact with what you hear. It might interact your experience. So, okay, if you're a little relaxed and energized at the same time, feel free to sit down wherever you want because we're going to listen and write to our intuition. I also want to say thank you for that vulnerability you just shared with everybody. Thank you for this new experience. Thank you for being open to this. This is huge that y'all are here. So at this moment, you have your writing utensils if that works for you. Get quiet and listen. If you don't want to write, that's okay. What's a question that you might want to ask? Even if it is, am I loved? What do you want me to know right now? What is my next right step? I'm going to give y'all a couple minutes to do this and we'll circle back. Okay, everyone, keep writing if you want to. We're just gonna go on, but do what you need to do. I would like to say, people who hate journaling, thank you for being here. Because sometimes journaling can feel tedious, you know? I also want to say, y'all are deserving of this practice. You are worthy of this practice. You deserve to know your true self. You deserve to feel the love that is pouring to you from your true self and your higher power. You deserve this skill to tap into yourself and be able to know your truth. And so the fact that you are here, your intuition knew you deserved this and that you are valuable and worthy of knowing who you are outside of codependency. So I just want to say super, super, super thank you for being here. Y'all are doing a huge thing for yourself. Okay, so would anyone like to share about what they wrote? There might be some people who are like, I love this, I'm gonna do it for the rest of my life. And some people, not naming names, they're gonna be like, What did I sign myself up for? Lizzie? Okay.
Um, so my job profession having customers and my department that was in work is a very toxic environment, especially with personal issues right now. Where I am, where I was, where I am, it's not. It's just not very healthy. So I know we as codependents, or I, as a will stay in a situation because I feel comfortable, I'm nervous to leave, or I'm too bored. And so there is that intuition where it's time to go. It's time to start looking for other opportunities, healthier, and kind of took down my intuition. This isn't the safe place to be. And made an opportunity that is a lot more helpful and a lot better and a lot safer. So when I kind of got down deep, now I felt a sense of calm, I felt a sense of peace, that anxiety that I felt in my work environment. And so that was again my intuition really had to go giving me that push that I needed, whereas and just
Thank you, Lizzie. You tapped into something really important, which is like we often have that nagging feeling, right? And like sometimes we want to ignore that, or our codependency takes over and that nagging feeling just gets pushed down because we have so many other people to take care of or so many other things to do. So our intuition is that nagging voice that we might not know what it is, but we know it feels uncomfortable. I think we have time for one more share, if anyone. Uh, if y'all can make it quick, we could do both.
Yeah, I've been kind of ruminating on, and I want to go back to school for social work, and I guess, I've been in my head getting really irritated. Like, I always liked helping professions when I was younger. I said these things that I wanted to do these things, and I'm like, oh, why did it have to be that way? That I went to school for business accounting, right? Because I was codependent on people who said this is the way and all the things, and I just ruminate on, God, why can't I invent it at the ideal time? And then when I'm writing about it, the response back is, where'd you get the assumption that was the ideal time, right? And then I'm going on about, what about the money and the time, It's like, are you counting this as a loss? Because there isn't a loss, right? So it's just all my small assumptions that it should have been done in my 20s and it should have been done with the money I had then kind of thing versus, how do you know? Like, how do you know this is not the absolute ideal time, that I'm not guiding the way, and that everything is absolutely fine, and it's a gain, not a loss? So, like, that's
Look at the revelation that you got from writing. Think about the energy that it took to sit down with your intuition and do that versus the energy we're used to, which is mulling over an idea or asking 10 different people. Like we're used to expending so much more energy than a concentrated form of energy, and you got an answer real fast. So thank you. Thomas?
Yeah, just quickly ask my higher power, like, is there anything you want to say to me? And so this is what you are greatly loved. I am crazy in love with you. I desire you to be free. I long for you to be whole. I would like to mend your wounded heart. I am for you. I believe in you. You are the apple of my eye. I will not leave you. I will not reject you. I enjoy spending time with you. I'm so proud of you. I love you, my son.
Thank you, Thomas. That, can you imagine hearing that 5 years ago, 10 years ago as a 10-year-old child? So we have the opportunity to hear it now. And what's crazy is it's coming from us and our higher power. So thank you so much for everyone that shared that. Y'all just like hit it on the nail of what we can do with this practice. So thank you. So why we're here? We are here for codependency recovery. How can listening and writing to our intuition be used as a recovery tool? So there's a quote on your handout, and it says, remembering that codependence is a spiritual dilemma is crucial to our recovery. Through codependent behaviors, we made people, places, and things our gods, giving them importance and power. That just like blows my mind. So you're saying to me codependency is a spiritual dilemma? So what does writing to my intuition have to do with a spiritual dilemma? Well, for me, coming into this, I had to tap into my intuition and figure out what that meant for me to connect with my higher power. Because I had a whole separate deal with my higher power before codependency. So it allowed me to tap into a spiritual recovery that was different than what I received when I was younger, and that spiritual recovery that I feel I need to really live my CoDA values. So it helps us to learn how to own our power instead of giving it away. How often have we given away power that we needed for ourselves? It allows us to find our true self outside of codependency. That's our wisdom that we talked about. Your inner voice, your inner knowing, your heart wisdom. I believe that, and the love that comes from your inner voice, I believe that is our true self, not our codependent self. It teaches us to listen to our own wisdom and that of our higher powers instead of asking everybody else for their opinion and their validation. It uses our brain in a new, healthy way, just like we were talking about thriving versus surviving. We are giving our limbic system a break from all the fight, flight, and freeze. And it can be used as part of our daily practice. Yes, Amy? Thank you. So part of our daily practice is like our step 11. For me, my intuition practice is a part of prayer and meditation. Step 11 says, we sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood God, praying only for knowledge of God's will for us and the power to carry that out. Step 11 asks us to maybe find a practice that works for us. Do we need a midday reflection? Do we need time to meditate? That's a good time that you can add in this intuition practice. Daily prayer and meditation connect us with the God of our understanding and how we want to live today. It is our way of acknowledging to ourselves that we are never alone. Through prayer and meditation, we improve our conscious contact and increase awareness of our own reality. We see connections between the events in our lives. Okay, I'm just going to break down this quote from our workbook. Daily prayer and meditation connect us with the God of our understanding and how we want to live today. Intuition writing, we're connecting with our higher power. How we want to live today, that's intentional, right? And it's intentional for me to sit down and actually practice this intuition muscle. It is our way of acknowledging to ourselves that we are never alone. When I'm codependent, I feel very lonely. When I tap into my inner voice, I never feel alone or lonely. Through prayer and meditation, we improve our conscious contact and increase awareness of our own reality. Intuition gets us out of our bubble, right? And it like allows us to see what's really happening and also what our part is in happening. We see connections between the events in our lives. Intuition helps you to get out of that codependent past or future and really what's happening now. So, with that, we have a few minutes for anything y'all have questions about, reflections about, and we're going to take a little vote. Okay, so let's reflect first. Anyone have any comments, aha moments, or questions? Yes.
When I think about that feeling, I think of a past toxic relationship where the person was gaslighting me. And I knew better than what they were saying, but I made excuses. I didn't trust my guidance. Like I'm doing better than I've done that. But back then, I
Totally. Thank you for bringing that up, Charles, because I think as codependents, we have come across a lot of toxic people who want us to not know our true selves. Because if we did, we would not be serving those toxic people. So thank you for bringing that up, because I definitely think that's a really valid part of this practice. Anybody else? Yes.
I just want to share about when I was in first grade, my grandmother, who was a writer, told me in journal. And she wrote this every day of her life. And then she said, the first thing you need to know, the first lesson is to trust your intuition because it's God's way of letting you know He loves you. And I still have, when she died, I inherited all of her journals. She died at 101. I got a case of them. Every one of them is talking about what she learned each day. I like it. So even during the Great Depression, she focused on all the good. And, or even things like I was walking home today and there was somebody suspicious. God let me know I needed to run. Things like that. I read these journals.
Really awesome. I would have loved to grandma. Okay, anyone else have any reflections? Yes, China. Please don't. And I appreciate you offering this space. Okay, so we're going to do a little question. So you can be a 1, 2, or 3. 1 is yes, I'm on board. I'm ready to use this practice. It's exciting. Number 2 is I really don't know. I don't know what I'm listening for. I'm really confused. I actually don't even know if this is for me. Number 3 is like, number 3 could be like, no, thank you. Which is okay, right? The seed is planted, and maybe you don't like it now, 10 years from now, maybe you will. So, who sees themselves as a number 1? Okay. Who sees themselves as a number 2? Hey, I like that. Yes. Okay. So much love for these people who are being honest with us right now. Who's number 3? Oh my gosh, doll. But I don't just be codependent and not telling you. Okay. Y'all have been amazing. Thank you so much. Your handout is my email, emilylovescoda@gmail.com. Feel free to email me with any questions or feedback, and come see me for next week's chat. Thank you.